They believed my sister's lie, cut me off, and left me homeless. Years later, they came back begging for money, and I made them feel everything I had gone through. My family believed my sister's lie. They disowned me, tossed me into the street, and left me to rot like I was nothing. Now they're at my door, begging me to save them from homelessness. I let them lose everything. Before I take you into the collapse of my old life, let me tell you where I came from. My name's Ethan. I'm 29 now, but back then I was 22, and life looked pretty damn perfect. I was raised in the upper-middle-class suburbs of San Diego, California. From the outside, we were picture perfect. Dad was a respected financial advisor in Los Angeles, and Mom was a part-time realtor whose full-time job was protecting our reputation like it was national security. I was their biological son, the golden child. Straight A's, varsity athlete, polite to every adult. Yeah, I drank beer with my friends and threw the occasional party when they were out of town, but nothing serious. Nothing that would risk the carefully curated Christmas card image my mom cherished. When I was 10, they adopted Hannah. She was 3 years old then, small, quiet, with giant brown eyes. And yeah, I was kind of a brat about it. One day I was the sun in their solar system, and the next I was orbiting around her. Everything was Hannah's first recital, Hannah's new dance shoes, Hannah's adorable art project. Typical sibling jealousy, I know. But at the time, it felt like I'd been replaced. Still, we got along well enough. She was dramatic, always in some school play, obsessed with musicals. But I looked out for her. When some kid pushed her on the playground in 2nd grade, I walked her to school the next morning and had a little chat with him. No one bothered her again. I even taught her basic self-defense. By my senior year of college, I had it all lined up. I was captain of our Division II baseball team, pulled a 3.9 GPA in business administration, and had a job offer waiting at one of L.A.'s biggest investment firms, thanks to my dad's connections. The plan was simple. Maybe play minor league ball a few years, then settle into finance, marry someone great, have kids, live the dream. Hannah was 15 then, a sophomore in high school, still in full theater kid mode. When I came home on breaks, we'd have dinner, catch up. She'd tell me about drama club or how annoying her teachers were. Looking back, I should have paid more attention to the little digs, the way she'd roll her eyes when Mom bragged about my GPA, or mutter things like, "must be nice," under her breath. But I missed the signs. Until the day everything fell apart. It was a Tuesday in October. We'd just lost a weekend series, and Coach ran us hard at practice. My shoulder was sore from too many bullpen sessions, but I liked that kind of pain, the kind that says you're working hard. After my shower, I tossed on a hoodie, grabbed my phone, and froze. 37 missed calls. 54 unread texts. Messages like, "You're disgusting, how could you?" and "You're dead to us." My chest tightened. I thought someone had died. Grandma, maybe Grandpa. I called Dad. His voice was like steel. "Get home. Now. Don't go anywhere else." Then he hung up. 20-minute drive. I barely remember it. NPR was on, but I couldn't hear a word. When I pulled into our driveway, I saw my Uncle Gary's truck. He was Dad's younger brother, a contractor with a drinking problem and a temper. Before I could even shut off the engine, Gary stormed off the porch, yanked open my truck door, grabbed my hoodie, and slammed me against the truck. "I'm gonna end you," he spat, so close I could smell the alcohol. His eyes were wild. I could have shoved him off. He was out of shape, and I was still in peak form. But I was too stunned to move. Dad and Uncle Rob pulled him back. "In the house," Dad said, without even looking at me. I walked inside, and time slowed. Every chair was filled. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, old neighbors. And Hannah, curled up on the couch, sobbing in our grandmother's lap. "What the hell is going on?" I asked, scanning the room. Then Mom stood, her face twisted in disgust at me. "How could you do that to your own sister?" "What are you talking about?" I asked, heart pounding. Then Dad spoke, voice tight, trembling. "She told us everything. How you've been sneaking into her room at night. For years." That accusation hit me like a truck. I couldn't breathe. My vision blurred. "What? No. I've never. Are you insane?" But Hannah sobbed harder. "You said no one would believe me. You said it was our secret. You said you'd hurt me." Her voice trembled with fake fear, and no matter what I said, no one listened. She kept going, piling on more and more. I kept saying, "It's not true. I never touched her. I never said any of that." But they didn't hear me. It was like the truth didn't matter. Then Dad did something he had never done before. He hit me. A right hook straight to the jaw. I dropped like a sack of bricks, blood in my mouth from my teeth cutting my cheek. "Get out," he growled. "Get your stuff and get the hell out of my house. You're no son of mine." Trash bags were already by the door, my clothes, some gear. He yanked my wallet and took out every card with his name on it. Insurance, credit, everything. "Dad, please. This isn't true. You've known me my whole life." He grabbed my shirt, dragged me to the door, and threw me down the front steps. My shoulder hit the pavement hard. It cracked. I later found out it was a mild separation. Then came my baseball gear, flung after me. "If you ever come near this family again, I'll kill you myself," he said, slamming the door. And just like that, everything, my family, my identity, my future, was gone. I sat on the lawn, bleeding and broken. Neighbors peeked through their windows. No one helped. No one asked questions. No one cared. That night, I slept in my truck in the campus parking lot, unable to eat or think, my mind replaying Hannah's words over and over. I knew she was lying, but they believed her. They wanted to believe her. By the time the sun came up, my jaw had swollen to the size of a grapefruit, and my shoulder ached so badly I could barely reach across the dashboard to grab my phone. I hadn't slept. Couldn't eat. I just kept cycling through what happened the night before, trying to understand how everything had crumbled in less than an hour. I called Ryan, my old teammate from high school. He answered immediately. "Man, what the hell's going on? Group chats are blowing up. People are saying, 'Can I crash at your place for a bit?'" I interrupted. There was a pause. "Yeah," he said finally. "Come through." Ryan lived near campus with 3 other guys in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment. They cleared some space on the couch. Nobody asked questions. They didn't need to. My face and posture said enough. I spent that week calling every family member I could think of, grandparents, uncles, cousins. Nothing. No one picked up. The only response I got was a single text from my father. "If you contact us again, I'll file a restraining order. You're dead to us." That broke something inside me that I didn't even know was fragile. Ryan tried to help. "Dude, you gotta go to the police. Your dad hit you. You've got a busted shoulder. You can file a report, maybe even sue." But I couldn't. Something in me just refused. Maybe it was fear. Maybe shame. Or maybe I still thought they'd come to their senses. That Hannah would confess, and everything would be okay. But nothing came. No apology. No clarity. Just silence. 2 weeks later, the university emailed me. My tuition payment hadn't gone through. My parents had pulled the funding without even telling me. I went to the financial aid office, tried begging for a loan, but without a cosigner or a decent credit history, I was out of luck. I dropped to part-time and picked up a full-time job doing security at a bar just off campus. It paid trash, but it was something. Between shifts and coursework, I barely had time to breathe. I started missing practices, then games. Eventually, coach pulled me from the roster. My GPA nosedived, from Dean's List to barely hanging on. Friends stopped texting. People avoided me in the halls. I wasn't called a predator to my face, but I saw it in the way girls clutched their bags tighter when I sat near them, in how conversations stopped when I entered a room. Then my truck died. Engine block cracked. Thousands in repairs. I couldn't afford it. I lost my delivery job, my second gig. Then I lost my apartment when I couldn't make rent. With nowhere else to go, I started sleeping in the baseball team's equipment shed. Coach must have guessed something. He quietly gave me the code. I showered in the gym when no one was around. Ate 1 meal a day in the cafeteria, scraping by on the last of my meal plan. One February night, Coach found me huddled by the vending machines in the gym hallway, wearing 3 hoodies, using my duffel bag as a pillow. "Ethan, what the hell happened to you?" I told him everything. The accusations, the exile, the silence, the beatings, the isolation. I expected him to walk away. Instead, he sat in silence for a long time, then said, "You can stay in the shed until the semester ends. Tomorrow, I'll bring a real mattress." He did, and a space heater. His wife even started sending extra food, Tupperware containers full of chili, pasta, casserole. It wasn't much, but it was the only kindness I'd seen in months. I scraped through the semester with a 2.1 GPA, just enough to avoid academic probation. But baseball was over, and so was I. Coach got me a summer job at a wilderness rehab program in Colorado. It was for troubled teens, most of them rich kids with absentee parents who wanted someone else to fix their problems. The job paid barely enough, but it included housing and meals, and I needed the escape more than the money. That fall, I didn't return to school. I stayed in the mountains, living in a cabin with other guides. Days were filled with hiking, building shelters, teaching survival skills. I rebuilt myself physically, carrying 50-pound packs, chopping wood, building fires in sleet. I put on 15 pounds of muscle in 6 months. But at night, I unraveled. We drank constantly. Anything we could get. Cheap whiskey, boxed wine, whatever. On days off, I started experimenting. Weed, shrooms, LSD. Even coke. I didn't care. I just didn't want to feel anything. Then came the accident. Josh, another guide, died during a climbing trip I was supposed to supervise. I was late. Hungover. The memory still guts me. His scream, the thud, the blood on the rocks. The director pulled me aside the next day. "You're a great guide, Ethan. But I can't have someone on staff who's a liability. Not when kids' lives are at stake." And just like that, I was fired. I bought a beat-up '98 Civic for $1,200 and lived out of it. I took any job that paid cash and didn't ask questions. Bouncer, day laborer, overnight warehouse work. No one cared who I was or what I'd done, and that suited me fine. I avoided women. Avoided families. If a kid sat too close to me in a restaurant, I left. I couldn't risk it. Not another rumor, not another whisper. I had nightmares about prison, about being labeled something I wasn't and punished for it anyway. Then came that night in Fort Collins. I was working security at a college bar when a guy recognized me, former linebacker from my school. He pointed me out to his friends. I heard them. "That's him. The freak. The predator." I ignored them. At 2 a.m., as I was walking to my car, they jumped me. 3 guys. Angry. Drunk. They said they were going to make sure I never touched anyone again. I fought back. Broke one guy's nose. But it was 3-on-1, and they had the drop. I left with 3 broken ribs, a dislocated shoulder, a fractured eye socket, and a concussion. A driver pulling into the lot found me and called 911. I spent 2 nights in the hospital. No insurance. 17 grand in debt. They handed me discharge papers, a plastic bag with my bloody hoodie, and that was it. I went back to my Civic. Parked in a Walmart lot. Took sponge baths in gas station sinks when I could raise my arms. And I made a decision. I was done. That night, I drove out to an old bridge just outside of town. It was cold, quiet, and high enough to make sure I wouldn't screw it up. I climbed the railing. My ribs screamed. My vision swam. I waited for the wind to carry me down. And then I heard a voice behind me. "Bit cold for a swim, don't you think?" I didn't hear him at first. The rain was coming down so hard it drowned out everything. The hiss of tires on wet asphalt, the wind tugging at my clothes, even my thoughts. I had climbed onto the railing, one hand bracing against the cold, rusted metal, the other gripping my phone. No calls. No messages. Nothing. Then came the voice, soft but startling. "Bit cold for a swim, don't you think?" My body jerked so hard I almost lost my balance. I whipped around, heart slamming against my ribs, one hand instinctively tightening on the rail. A man stood about 10 feet behind me, a fishing rod slung over one shoulder, rain streaming off the brim of his camo ball cap. He was old, late 70s at least, but held himself with a quiet steadiness, like someone who'd spent a lifetime in control of things people usually couldn't control. "Don't do it," he said. "Leave me alone." I snapped, voice hoarse, almost cracked. "This has nothing to do with you." "It does now," he said, unbothered. "That's the rule. If I see it, it's mine to stop." He moved a step closer, slow and deliberate. "My name's Frank. Retired Marine Corps. Seen this before. Too many times. You're not the first guy to stand on that rail, and you won't be the last. But you've got a choice right now. You just don't see it yet." I didn't say anything. Couldn't. My mind was on fire. I wasn't afraid to die, but I was terrified of being seen, of being judged again, of having someone else look at me like I was a monster. Then Frank did something unexpected. He sat down, right there on the wet concrete, rod resting beside him like we were just 2 strangers waiting for the rain to stop. "I'm not leaving," he said. "So unless you want an old man yelling at your corpse while holding a fishing pole, maybe sit down and tell me what happened." I stared at him, silent and soaked to the bone, for what felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, I stepped down from the rail. It was the first time in 2 years that I chose life. Frank didn't smile. He just stood up, offered me a hand, and said, I live 15 minutes from here. Dry clothes. Hot meal. You don't owe me anything but the rest of the night. I wanted to say no. I should have, but I couldn't make my mouth form the words. I followed him. His house was small, meticulously organized, like every item had a place and every surface had a history. The bookshelf was lined with military memoirs and survival guides. Photos of a younger man in uniform. One photo stood out, a young soldier with the same piercing eyes, grinning beside a Humvee. Frank's son. The frame was dusted weekly. He handed me a towel and a stack of old clothes, cargo pants, long-sleeve thermal, thick socks. Belonged to my boy, he said. Killed in Afghanistan. 2011. You're about his size. In the kitchen, the smell of bacon and eggs hit me like a gut punch. I hadn't smelled real food in weeks. He slid a plate across the table. Eat first. Talk later. I devoured it. That night, I slept on Frank's couch. Really slept. Not the half-aware, twitchy kind of sleep I'd grown used to, but full, blackout sleep. For the first time in years, I didn't wake up to my heart racing or drenched in sweat. The next morning, he was waiting at the table with 2 mugs of jet black coffee. I run a security agency, he said without preamble. Small outfit. High-end clientele. Corporate events. Executive protection. No nonsense. You want a shot? My hand paused midair. Why? Because I've been reading faces for 50 years, he said, and yours isn't lying. You're either the unluckiest bastard I've ever met, or someone who got thrown into the fire and crawled out the other side. But I'm a mess, I said honestly. Frank shrugged. So is everyone. Difference is whether they admit it. There were conditions. Workouts every morning at 5 a.m. No drinking on workdays. And I had to see a therapist, no exceptions. I've got a buddy, he said. Old non-medic turned trauma specialist. You'll like him. He doesn't sugarcoat a damn thing. I agreed. That was the beginning. Frank became my mentor, my employer, and over time, my family. He drilled professionalism into me like it was gospel. Taught me how to dress, speak, carry myself. How to be sharp and composed even when I was unraveling inside. His rules were brutal, but fair. You're not just building a career, he said one day while we loaded gear for a concert. You're building something no one can take from you. By fall, I had saved enough to rent a clean little studio. I enrolled in night classes, business management. Frank even paid for my first semester. Told me I could pay him back once I got on my feet. I hadn't seen my reflection in months, not really. But that night in the bathroom mirror, I did. I didn't see the monster anymore. I saw a man fighting like hell to be whole. A year in, Frank called me into his office. I've got a job for you, he said. Art gallery opening downtown. My niece owns the place. It's a favor. I need someone sharp. Sure, I said, not thinking anything of it. But when I met her, Sophie, I understood what Frank had really meant by favor. She would become the next person to save me. I didn't expect her to be beautiful. Not in a traditional magazine cover way, but in the kind of way that stops a room. Sophie was tall and athletic, her features striking rather than delicate. Her asymmetrically cut dark hair framed a pair of green eyes that seemed to study the world and everything in it. They didn't just look at you, they looked through you. And if you had something to hide, they made you squirm. The first words she said to me weren't a greeting. So you're Frank's new charity case? I raised an eyebrow. If you mean I'm the guy keeping your artwork safe tonight, then yeah, that's me. She smirked and turned away, her heels clicking against the hardwood as she moved through the gallery. Frank had warned me. She's sharp, doesn't suffer fools, and thinks every man under 6 figures and over 6 feet is either a bodyguard or a liar. I didn't know whether to laugh or be offended, but I did my job, professional, calm, and invisible. Still, I could feel her watching me, not in a flirtatious way, in an analytical way, like I was a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. I was used to being dismissed, pitted, or feared. But studied? That was new. Later that night, I overheard her trying to explain an abstract painting to a disinterested buyer. The man walked away, muttering something about nonsense. Sophie sighed. Some people just don't get it. Maybe some stories aren't meant to be understood by everyone. I offered quietly. She turned, surprised I'd spoken. And you think you get it? Not really, I shrugged. But I know what a broken heart looks like. Her expression shifted, just slightly. Huh. The artist said the same thing. That was the moment something changed. She handed me her card. My condo's security system is trash. Maybe you can consult. It was the oldest excuse in the book, and I took it anyway. That consultation turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekends. And Sophie turned into the first real connection I'd had in years. But I lied to her. When she asked about my family, I said they'd died in a car crash. I spun a version of myself that was easier to live with. And for a while, it worked. She didn't push, but she knew I was hiding something. Frank was the one who pushed me to tell her. She's falling for you, he said one morning as we set up an event. You owe her the truth. I told Sophie everything. Every humiliating, nightmarish detail. My sister's lie. My parents' betrayal. Sleeping in a baseball shed. Standing on that bridge. I expected her to walk away. To question me. To recoil. Instead, she reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "Thank you for trusting me. I believe you." 3 words. No one had said those to me since Frank. I broke down. The years of silence, shame, and rage spilled out. And she held me. Just held me. After that, we moved fast, but it didn't feel rushed. It felt overdue. I proposed 2 years later, down on one knee by the river where we had our first real date. She said yes through tears. Frank walked her down the aisle. Her father had passed years earlier, and I couldn't stop thinking about how strange it was that the man who once stopped me from jumping off a bridge now stood beside me at the altar. We bought a modest house, clean and quiet, with a backyard and space to breathe. I finished my degree, became a partner at Frank's firm, and helped take our contracts nationwide. Sophie's art exploded. Her pieces sold in galleries from Denver to Boston. We talked about kids, vacations, what kind of tree to plant in the yard. For the first time in nearly a decade, I felt free. The nightmares slowed. I could be near children without flinching. I even reconnected with some old college teammates who had heard the real story through mutual friends. The past started to feel like someone else's bad dream. And then the call came. A rainy Tuesday in March. I was prepping security protocols for a high-profile tech CEO visiting for a conference. My assistant buzzed through the intercom. "Sir, there's a woman on line 1. Says it's a family emergency." She wouldn't leave her name. Sophie was fine. Frank was at the range. My heart dropped anyway. "Put her through," I said. I picked up the phone. "This is Ethan." Silence. Then a voice. "Ethan, it's Mom. 7 years." Her voice hit like a sucker punch to the chest. "What do you want?" I said, my voice flat. "Please, don't hang up. It's important. There's nothing you can say that matters." "It's Lily," she whispered. She confessed. She said she made it all up. The world stopped. I'd known it. Deep down, I'd always known it. But hearing her say it, finally, after years of silence and exile, felt like a cruel joke. I hung up the phone, drove straight to Frank's house, told him everything. He didn't ask questions. "What do you want to do?" he said quietly. "I don't know." "You do," he replied. "You just don't know if it's the right thing." And he was right, because the truth wasn't enough. I needed to hear it from her mouth, and then decide if I wanted to let them live with it or not. I chose a public place, not because I thought they'd lash out. Deep down, I didn't think they had the courage anymore, but because I needed control. This was going to be my moment. My terms. My arena. The cafe on Main Street was small, quiet, and filled with natural light. I picked a seat in the back corner where I could monitor every entrance and exit, an old habit I picked up during years of private security work. Sophie sat beside me, her fingers wrapped tightly around mine. Frank waited outside in his truck, just in case. No words were needed. His presence alone was enough. They walked in at exactly 2 p.m. My mom looked older than I remembered, her once polished appearance worn down by stress and regret. My dad, once proud and towering, now appeared frail, shrunken in his wrinkled button-down and baggy khakis. And Lily, she looked nothing like the confident, expressive teen I remembered. Her eyes were hollow, her shoulders slumped. Mom moved toward me like she might hug me. I stepped back. "Sit," I said. No one argued. The silence stretched unbearably long. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "Son, I'm not your son." I cut him off. "You made that decision 7 years ago." His lips pressed together. 3 months ago, he said quietly. Lily called a family meeting. She told us the truth. About everything. I turned to Lily. "Look at me." She hesitated before lifting her red-rimmed eyes to meet mine. "Why?" I asked. Her voice was barely audible. I was jealous. You were perfect, smart, athletic, loved. I felt invisible. I thought, if I said something dramatic, they'd finally notice me. And so you accused me of something that could have destroyed my life. Her tears welled. I didn't know it would go that far. I thought they'd just yell at you, maybe ground you. But when everyone believed me, when people started treating me like I mattered, I didn't know how to undo it. I let it keep going. I stared at her for a long time. I didn't feel anger. Not anymore. I felt hollow. Then I turned to my parents. You believed her. No questions. No doubt. You threw me out like garbage. Dad's voice cracked. We thought we were protecting her. She was your daughter. I was your son. I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. Images flicked across the screen, my black eye and split lip after the bar fight. The hospital intake forms. A photo of me from the worst of it, gaunt, sunken-eyed, huddled in the corner of the equipment shed I once called home. I nearly died. On a bridge. Alone. Mom sobbed openly. Dad looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. We're sorry, she whispered. We want to make this right. We want you back. We want our family whole again. I let out a cold laugh. Make it right. You can't give me back my life. My peace. You want help. That's what this is about. Dad's silence confirmed it. We're losing the condo, he admitted. My business collapsed. Lily dropped out. We're drowning. Of course. You want me to save you? I said flatly. We're family, Mom said desperately. No, I said, standing. We're not. You decided that when you let me rot. I looked at Lily. I forgive you. She blinked. What? You were 15. Stupid, selfish, immature, but still a child. I've had time to process that. You paid for what you did. I turned to my parents. But you? You were grown. You had a responsibility. And you failed me. Mom grabbed my wrist. Please. What can we do? What do you want from us? I stared into her eyes. I want you to understand. To feel what it's like to be helpless. Cast out. Alone. Maybe then you'll grasp what you did to me. I dropped enough cash on the table to cover everyone's drinks and walked out. Sophie was already holding the car door open. Frank leaned against his truck across the street, arms folded, watching. As I reached him, he nodded. Proud of you, son. That was 2 years ago. Since then, I've heard things. My parents lost their condo. Dad works stocking shelves. Mom cleans houses. Lily left town and never came back. No contact since. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever reach out. Sophie says that forgiveness is for me, not for them. Frank says I'll know when it's time. Or if it's ever time. Right now, I'm focused on my new life. Sophie and I are expecting our first child. We've expanded the firm into 3 more states. Our team is growing. Our clients trust us. We've built something that's ours. Untouchable. Some nights, I still dream about that bridge. The cold, the rain, the emptiness. But then I wake up beside Sophie. I hear our baby's heartbeat on the monitor. I walk into an office that I own. I speak with a team that respects me. And I remember. I survived. They didn't break me. They just gave me the fire to build something better.